The night shattered with the roar of the stadium as Tyler said, "We did it. We finally made it." His arms lifted high, a reckless grin spreading across his face, unaware that one simple gesture would ignite chaos. The scoreboard blazed behind him, yet the crowd's cheer began to fracture, a ripple of unease spreading like wildfire. Screens lit up, phones raised, hashtags born within seconds. Within seconds. Madison whispered, "Tyler, stop. They're recording everything." Her eyes wide with fear, but Tyler kept celebrating, his chest pounding with pride. The flash of cameras turned his joy into fuel for outrage. Within moments, silence drowned the cheer as whispers grew sharper. A voice shouted, "Did you see what he just did?" And others quickly piled on. Tyler's smile faltered, his heart racing as confusion gripped him. What felt like triumph was becoming a nightmare unraveling in real time. The echo of his celebration no longer sounded like victory, but like a death sentence for everything he had worked for. Tyler tried to laugh it off, whispering, "It's just a celebration," but the crowd's silence was heavier than any defeat. Madison grabbed his arm, her voice trembling, "Tyler, this isn't right. They're already turning on you." He pulled away, still in denial, his eyes darting to teammates who avoided his gaze. Screens glowed brighter with headlines forming faster than he could breathe. A reporter shouted, "Did you mean that gesture?" The sting of accusation cut deep, his pulse racing. Teammates whispered, their words slicing like knives. Tyler muttered, "Why are they doing this?" But no one answered. The energy shifted from victory to tension, a suffocating weight pressing on him. Every cheer now felt like a curse echoing against his chest. By the time Tyler reached the sideline, the storm was already raging online. Madison said, "They've clipped it, Tyler, it's everywhere now." His chest tightened, eyes scanning the glow of screens thrust in his face. One teammate muttered, "Coach won't forgive this," while another shook his head in disgust. Tyler whispered, but it was nothing, just excitement. Yet no one defended him. The crowd buzzed louder with judgment than with cheers, each voice adding another layer of suffocating shame. Headlines flashed across nearby phones, the word "cancelled" glaring at him like fire. Tyler's knees wobbled as the weight of a world crashing down pressed on him all at once. The crowd no longer looked like fans, but like jurors waiting to deliver a verdict. Tyler said, "It's not fair, they don't even know me." Madison whispered, "They don't care, they just want blood." A chant began, mocking, cruel, echoing across the stadium. His celebration had turned into evidence, his face plastered across thousands of phones. Tyler's voice cracked as he begged, "Please, someone explain this." But there was no answer, only noise. His chest burned, his vision blurred, and every step felt like dragging chains. The moment that should have been his triumph now felt like an execution unfolding in slow motion. By the time the final whistle blew, Tyler's victory had rotted into defeat. The scoreboard announced glory, but the chants erased it. Madison whispered, "Tyler, we have to go," tugging at him as reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed like lightning, questions hurled like stones. Tyler stumbled, his voice barely audible. "Why me? Why now?" But the mob drowned him out. Each flash froze his anguish in digital permanence. His reputation was unraveling before he even left the field. Madison's tears streaked down her face as she tried to shield him, but the noise was unstoppable. That night, the stadium became his gallows, and his celebration his crime. Tyler sat alone in his dorm room, scrolling through endless headlines, each one louder than the last. He whispered, "They don't know me. They don't even care," as his chest ached with the weight of ridicule. Madison knocked softly before stepping inside, her voice quiet. "You need to stop reading. It's killing you." Tyler clenched his jaw, tossing his phone onto the bed, but the glow of notifications still pulsed through the silence. He looked around the walls lined with medals and trophies, once symbols of hope now mocking him with silent judgment. Madison said, "You're more than this moment," yet her own fear was visible in her trembling hands. Tyler pressed his palms against his eyes, trying to block out the noise that wouldn't end. Every message, Every post felt like another stone thrown at him, his identity shredded by strangers who had never met him. He whispered, "I don't know how to face them tomorrow," and the room fell still. The next morning, Tyler walked across campus, his hood pulled low, but whispers followed him like shadows. A group of students glanced at their phones, then at him before quickly turning away. Tyler muttered under his breath, "They don't even look me in the eye." Madison hurried beside him, her voice urgent, "Just keep walking, don't give them anything more to use." Tyler's fists clenched as laughter echoed from behind, sharp and cruel. He looked at the familiar brick buildings that once gave him pride, now feeling like prison walls closing in. One student called out mockingly, "Hey Tyler, nice move last night," while others snickered. His heart pounded, each step heavier than the last, as if the ground itself had betrayed him. The campus he once loved had turned into a stage where every stare was a judgment. Madison whispered, "You're not alone," but Tyler could barely hear her through the roar of shame. That afternoon, Tyler sat with Madison in the empty locker room, silence pressing against the walls. He whispered, "This place used to feel like home," staring at the benches where teammates once laughed with him. Madison placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft. "They'll remember who you really are, not just this." Tyler shook his head, eyes fixed on the ground. "They won't. This is all they'll ever see now." The sound of footsteps echoed, and two teammates passed by, their conversation dying as they spotted him. One muttered, "Can't believe he ruined everything," and the sting cut deeper than any bruise. Tyler's chest tightened as he fought the urge to shout back, but his silence felt heavier. Madison said gently, "You're still you, Tyler, even if they don't see it," yet even she sounded uncertain. The room smelled of sweat and defeat, a reminder of battles won, and now completely forgotten. Later that evening, Tyler visited his parents' home, hoping for comfort, but the air felt tense. His father sat stiff in the armchair, arms crossed, eyes glued to the news replaying the clip. Tyler said, "Dad, you know me, it wasn't meant like that," his voice cracking. His mother wrung her hands nervously, whispering, "The neighbors are already talking, Tyler." The silence stretched long, suffocating as his father finally muttered, "You've embarrassed us all." Tyler's stomach dropped, the words cutting sharper than any headline. He stared at the family photos on the wall, images of birthdays and victories that now felt like relics of a life he had destroyed. Madison, sitting quietly in the corner, looked down, unable to meet his eyes. Tyler whispered, "I thought home would be safe," but no one answered. The living room felt colder than the stadium ever had, and for the first time, Tyler felt truly alone. Back in his dorm that night, Tyler lay awake, staring at the ceiling as notifications buzzed endlessly. Madison sat on the floor near his bed, scrolling through her phone, her expression heavy with dread. Tyler whispered, "Every time I close my eyes, I see them watching me." Madison said softly, "This storm won't last forever," though even she didn't believe it. Tyler turned on his side, tears burning. "But what if this is all I am now? Just the mistake?" Silence filled the room, broken only by the vibration of his phone on the desk. Madison whispered, "You're more than that one moment," her voice cracking under the weight of hope she could barely carry. Tyler's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths as he whispered, "Then why can I feel it?" The night stretched endlessly, shadows creeping across the walls, as if even the darkness judged him. The first answer dropped within 24 hours, their statement crisp and merciless. Tyler read the email aloud, effective immediately, "Our partnership is terminated." His hands shook, the words burning like acid on his tongue. Madison said softly, "They didn't even call. They just cut you off." Tyler slammed his fist against the desk, muttering, "All those years, all that loyalty, and this is how they repay me." His phone buzzed again with another notification, another sponsor pulling away, another contract lost. The trophies on his shelf gleamed like cruel reminders of promises now shattered. He whispered, "I gave them everything, and they left me for dead." Madison stood behind him, silent, her reflection in the window as broken as his. The storm outside rattled the glass, echoing the chaos tearing through his life. Tyler lowered his head into his hands, the weight of abandonment crushing him more than the mob ever could. Word spread across campus faster than Tyler could breathe. His name no longer shouted with pride but whispered with disgust. Walking to class, he heard fragments of conversations. Pathetic, done for, he deserves it. Tyler's jaw clenched as he muttered, "They don't even know me, but they've already judged me guilty." Madison walked beside him, her head low, whispering, "Ignore them, please." A group of students pointed and laughed, one holding his phone high, recording Tyler's every step. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, but the words stayed locked in his chest. His heart pounded as the hallway stretched endlessly, every stare like a dagger. Once he was the pride of the campus, now he was the cautionary tale. He whispered bitterly, "I can't walk anywhere without being their entertainment." Madison touched his arm gently, but the comfort barely reached him. Back in the locker room, Tyler faced his teammates, but the silence was heavier than any loss. One finally said, "Coach doesn't want you around until this blows over." Tyler snapped, "Blows over? This is my life." Another muttered, "We can't afford to be dragged down with you." Tyler's chest tightened as he looked into faces that once celebrated with him, now filled with avoidance. Madison whispered, "They're scared, Tyler, not enemies." But it didn't matter. The betrayal cut deep. His cleats sat in the corner, still caked with dirt from his last game, like relics of a career slipping away. Tyler said bitterly, "I thought we were a team," his voice echoing off the metal lockers. No one answered. The silence was worse than anger. At dinner with his family, the fracture deepened. His mother whispered, "Tyler, people are calling us asking questions we can't answer." His father said firmly, "You need to apologize, even if you didn't mean it." Tyler slammed his fork onto the table, shouting, "Why should I apologize for something I didn't do?" The silence that followed was sharper than any argument. His younger brother muttered under his breath, "You've ruined everything." Tyler's face went pale as he turned to Madison, who sat frozen beside him, unable to speak. "I told me die." His chest burned with betrayal, each word from his family like another wound. He whispered, "Even my own blood thinks I'm guilty." His mother reached across the table, but he pulled his hand away, his heart heavier than the food untouched on his plate. The following day, old posts resurfaced online, twisting harmless jokes into weapons. Tyler scrolled through them, whispering, "They're dragging my past into this now." Madison grabbed his phone, saying, "Stop looking, it's poison." He pulled it back angrily. "They've already decided who I am." The headlines screamed, each one louder than the last, painting him as a villain. His hands shook, his breath uneven, as if drowning in an ocean of words he could not escape. Madison's voice broke, "Please, Tyler, you'll lose yourself if you keep reading." But Tyler already felt lost. Every memory he once held sacred was being rewritten by strangers. His identity was crumbling, not because of what he had done, but because of what others decided to believe. He whispered, "They've buried me alive," his voice hoarse with despair. Tyler sat in the library late at night, scrolling through endless posts when Madison whispered, "You need to see this." She handed him her phone, her hand trembling. On the screen was a leaked group chat from teammates mocking him, planning how to distance themselves. Tyler muttered, "So it wasn't just fear, it was betrayal." His chest tightened, each line of text slicing deeper than the crowd's chants. Madison said, "One of them started this, Tyler. They pushed it into the spotlight." Tyler's eyes narrowed, rage simmering beneath the surface. He whispered, "They destroyed me to save themselves." The silence in the library grew thick, broken only by the hum of fluorescent lights. For the first time, the mob outside seemed less dangerous than the knives planted in his back. Tyler's breathing grew heavier as realization spread. His downfall had been orchestrated. The next day, Tyler confronted a teammate outside the gym. He asked sharply, "Why did you do it?" The teammate froze, eyes darting before muttering, "We had to protect ourselves." Tyler's voice cracked. "By destroying me?" The teammate avoided his gaze, shifting uncomfortably as Madison stood nearby, her fists clenched. Tyler stepped closer, his tone darker. "You called me brother, and this is what you gave me." The teammate stammered, "It wasn't just me, others pushed too." The words echoed like poison, confirming Tyler's worst fears. Madison whispered, "They used you, Tyler, then abandoned you." His eyes filled with fire. The betrayal no longer rumor, but undeniable truth. Around them, students watched in silence, whispers beginning to ripple again. But this time the story had shifted. That evening, Madison uncovered another detail. Screenshots showing that the first viral clip had been deliberately edited. She whispered, "Tyler, look, they cut the moment to twist it." His eyes widened as he studied the frames, seeing his harmless gesture turned into something damning. Tyler whispered hoarsely, "They knew what they were doing." Madison said, "This wasn't an accident. Someone wanted this to explode." Tyler slammed the table, rage boiling over, and the world believed it without question. His pulse thundered as the truth took shape. The mob had not just reacted, they had been fed lies. Madison leaned closer, her voice steady despite fear. "If this comes out, it changes everything." Tyler exhaled sharply, the spark of hope colliding with fury. As the truth unraveled, Tyler sought out another teammate, only to hear a darker revelation. The teammate whispered, "It wasn't just about you. Someone wanted your spot." Tyler's eyes narrowed. "Who?" The teammate hesitated, then said, "Jason pushed the hardest. He wanted you gone." Tyler felt the ground shift beneath him. Jason had been his closest friend, the one he trusted most. Madison whispered, "The betrayal cuts deepest when it's from inside." Tyler's chest burned as he muttered, "Jason, he destroyed me to wear my jersey." The realization left him shaking with anger and heartbreak. Mob outside seemed faceless, but Jason's name gave the pain teeth. Tyler whispered, "I never saw it coming." That night, Tyler sat in darkness, the betrayal replaying in his mind. He whispered, "Jason was supposed to be my brother." Madison sat beside him, her voice breaking. He chose ambition over loyalty. Tyler's eyes brimmed with tears as he muttered, "He took everything from me, my name, my future." Madison said, "But now you have truth, and truth is power." Tyler stared at the phone in his hand, the evidence glowing in the dark, his reflection fractured on the screen. He whispered, "Truth doesn't matter if no one listens." Madison leaned closer, whispering fiercely, "Then make them listen." For the first time, Tyler felt the burn of resolve outweigh the weight of despair. The betrayal had gutted him, but the truth gave him a weapon. The gym was packed for the press conference, cameras flashing like lightning. Tyler stood at the podium, sweat beading on his forehead. He whispered to himself, "Don't break now." Madison squeezed his arm before stepping back, her eyes filled with fear. Reporters shouted, "Do you regret your actions? Do you admit guilt?" Tyler raised his voice, trembling but fierce. "I celebrated a victory, not a crime." The crowd roared, half with anger, half with disbelief. He slammed his fist on the podium, shouting, "You turned my triumph into a weapon, but you never asked why." The silence that followed was deafening. For a heartbeat, Tyler felt control return to him, but the mob's eyes burned hotter. Madison whispered from the side, "Hold strong, Tyler." He stared back at the flashing lights, every muscle tight, every breath a war against collapse. Jason entered from the back, smirking, his presence like gasoline on fire. Tyler froze, rage boiling as the man who betrayed him walked closer. Jason said smoothly, "You embarrassed us all, Tyler. Admit it and move on." Tyler's voice shook with fury. "You did this to me, Jason. You edited that clip." Gasps rippled through the room as reporters leaned forward. Jason laughed. "Proof? You have nothing but excuses." Madison stepped forward, her voice sharp. "We have everything. The screenshots, the messages." The crowd erupted in noise, cameras flashing faster. Jason's grin faltered as Tyler locked eyes with him, whispering through clenched teeth, You wanted my jersey, so you stabbed me in the back. Jason's silence spoke louder than his denial, the room splitting between believers and doubters. The room turned into chaos. Reporters shouted, "Is this true, Jason?" while cameras zoomed in on every twitch of his face. Jason's smirk cracked, his jaw tightening as sweat glistened under the lights. Tyler shouted, "You framed me to take my place, and the world believed you." Jason barked back, "You were careless, I just exposed it." The mob gasped, Madison shouting, "That's a confession." The noise crescendoed into madness as Jason lunged toward Tyler, fists clenched, only to be held back by staff. Tyler's chest heaved, his voice breaking. "You destroyed me for ambition, but you won't bury me." For the first time, Jason's mask slipped, fear flashing in his eyes. The gym no longer felt like a press event, but a battlefield where reputations bled. The confrontation spilled onto social media instantly. Screens lit up with clips of Jason's slip, his words replayed on loop. Tyler sat down heavily, exhausted but defiant. Madison leaned close, whispering, "They're finally seeing the truth." Tyler muttered, "But will they care, or just move on to the next scandal?" Outside the gym, chants filled the air, half shouting his name with anger, half with support. For the first time, the mob was divided. Tyler whispered, "Maybe this isn't the end," his hands trembling on the table. Madison squeezed his shoulder, her eyes shining with pride and worry. The weight of exposure lingered, but so did the sting of every betrayal. Tyler whispered again, "I won't stay silent anymore." The crowd outside thundered, proof that his fight was far from over. That night, Tyler stood outside the stadium under pouring rain, his fists clenched, his heart raging louder than the storm. Madison shouted over the downpour, "You faced them, Tyler. You stood tall." Tyler whispered, "But the scars won't fade. They'll carry me forever." Lightning split the sky as he shouted, "I gave them my soul, and they crushed it." His scream echoed across the empty field, raw and primal. Madison wrapped her arms around him, whispering, "You're still here. That's what matters." Tyler fell to his knees, tears mixing with rain, his chest heaving with the weight of release. For the first time, rage and grief poured out in equal measure. The storm drowned the world, but his voice carved through it, a broken anthem of defiance and pain. The morning after the storm, Tyler walked across campus with his head low, the echoes of last night still raging online. Students stared, some with pity, others with disdain. He whispered, "Even when the truth comes out, they still see me as guilty." Madison said gently, "Some believe you now, Tyler, but the world doesn't forget so easily." Tyler clenched his fists, his chest heavy with the knowledge that reputation once shattered cannot be rebuilt overnight. He glanced at the banners on campus, the same ones that once bore his picture, now torn and replaced. His heart twisted as he muttered, "I don't belong here anymore." The silence between them stretched long as footsteps echoed, carrying the weight of judgment. Madison whispered, "You're not alone, no matter how it feels." Tyler exhaled, shoulders slumping, the road ahead, uncertain but inescapable. That afternoon, Tyler sat in the athletic director's office, facing the man who once praised him as a rising star. The director said, "The board has decided. You're suspended indefinitely." Tyler's voice cracked. "Even after the truth?" The director looked away, muttering, "Public trust takes longer to rebuild than facts." Tyler gripped the chair, nails digging into the wood, rage flooding through him. Madison sat silently in the corner, her eyes glassy with helplessness. Tyler whispered bitterly, "So I'm guilty, even when I'm not." The director sighed. Sometimes perception is all that matters. The words struck like hammers, leaving Tyler's chest hollow. He stood, his voice trembling. "Then you've chosen to bury me alive." The office air grew suffocating, filled with the silence of choices made out of fear. Back at his dorm, Tyler stared at the empty walls where posters once hung, the room stripped bare like his future. He muttered, "Everything I worked for is gone." Madison sat cross-legged on the floor, whispering, "Not everything, you still have me." Tyler turned to her, eyes hollow, "But what am I without the game?" She held his gaze, her voice steady. You're more than their headlines, more than their lies. He shook his head, fists trembling. It doesn't feel like it. The silence filled the room, until the buzz of his phone broke it. Another message, another wave of hate. Tyler whispered, "They'll never let me forget." Madison reached for his hand, whispering, "Then let's stop living for them." His chest rose with a fragile breath, as if considering survival for the first time. Later, Tyler visited his childhood home again, hoping for solace. His mother met him at the door, whispering, "You're still my son, no matter what they say." His father stayed silent in the living room, refusing to meet his eyes. Tyler muttered, "Even blood can't stand beside me." His mother's eyes filled with tears as she said, "He's scared, not ashamed of you." Tyler whispered bitterly, "Silence feels like betrayal too." His younger brother appeared at the staircase, arms crossed, expression conflicted. Madison stood behind Tyler, watching the fracture deepen, her presence steady though her heart broke. Tyler's voice cracked. "This house doesn't feel like home anymore." The walls seemed to close in, heavy with the weight of words unsaid. That night, Tyler stood by the empty stadium, staring at the field where his dreams had once burned bright. He whispered, "This place gave me everything. And now, it has taken it all away." Madison walked beside him, her breath visible in the cold air. She said softly, "It doesn't define you, Tyler, not anymore." He clenched his jaw, whispering, "Then who am I?" The silence stretched wide across the field, broken only by the wind rushing through the bleachers. Madison whispered, "Someone's still standing." Tyler closed his eyes, letting the words settle like fragile seeds in barren soil. He whispered, "Then maybe I can begin again." The stadium lights flickered above, casting long shadows, as if even the ghosts of his victories lingered to watch his decision. The next morning, Tyler woke to a message request from an unknown account. Madison urged, "Don't open it, not now." But Tyler's hands shook as he clicked. A video loaded, showing the uncut footage of his celebration, raw, harmless, stripped of malice. He whispered, "This is the truth. This is what they never saw." Madison's eyes widened, her voice fierce. "It proves everything, Tyler." His heart pounded, realizing someone had held on to this proof all along. He muttered, "So I wasn't crazy. They twisted it." Madison said, "Now the world will finally know." Tyler stared at the screen, his reflection fractured against the video, a mix of hope and exhaustion. He whispered, "But truth doesn't erase scars." The silence was heavy, filled with the weight of vindication that had come far too late. By noon, the uncut video flooded the internet, spreading like fire through the same feeds that once burned him. Tyler whispered, "They finally see it." Madison scrolled through endless comments, her voice trembling. "Some are apologizing, some still call you guilty." Tyler leaned back, staring at the ceiling, muttering, "Truth can't erase what's already broken." Reporters reached out, begging for interviews, but Tyler stayed silent, his chest heavy. Madison urged, "You could clear your name, Tyler." He shook his head, whispering, "My name is already ashes." The notifications kept pouring in, thousands of strangers debating his life like a sport. Tyler closed his eyes, whispering, "They never cared about truth, only the spectacle." His voice carried both relief and resignation, knowing vindication had arrived too late. That evening, Tyler met Jason in the empty locker room, silence filling the space like smoke. Jason sneered, "So they saw the video. Doesn't matter, you're still finished." Tyler's voice was low, burning, "You took my dream, but you won't take who I am." Jason laughed bitterly. "You think anyone cares who you are now?" Tyler stepped closer, fists trembling, whispering, "The truth always rots lies eventually." Jason's smirk faltered as he muttered, "You were too easy to ruin." Tyler's chest rose, fury boiling, but he turned away, muttering, "I won't give you more of me." Jason shouted after him, but Tyler didn't turn back. The silence between them was heavier than fists, leaving Jason hollow while Tyler carried the weight of survival. Later, Tyler stood at the campus gates, suitcase in hand. Madison whispered, You don't have to leave. He shook his head, muttering, this place buried me long before I left. Students passed by, some glancing with guilt, others whispering still. Tyler whispered, they'll never see me as anything but the scandal. Madison's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling. Then let them regret it when you rise somewhere else. Tyler exhaled slowly, shoulders heavy, but a fragile determination flickered in his gaze. He whispered, I'm walking away not because they won, but because I want to give them more of me. The campus behind him felt like a graveyard, yet the road ahead stretched wide, uncertain but open. That night, Tyler stood on a quiet bridge, city lights shimmering in the distance. Madison whispered, what now? Tyler stared at the water below, his voice calm but heavy. I start again, from nothing. He turned to her, whispering, they tried to erase me, but I'm still here. Madison's hand slipped into his, her voice soft, and you're not alone. Tyler looked at the horizon, his reflection fractured in the river. He whispered, I lost everything, but I found truth. Silence stretched, broken only by the sound of water rushing beneath. Tyler whispered one last line, his words sharp as a blade. They took my name, but not my soul. His voice echoed against the night, leaving the world with a final blow that could not be silenced.